It's always a delight for me to talk about what I see in the Yes campaign, or the possibility of Scotland governing herself, as a real opportunity. But just maybe to put that in context, there's I don't know if any of you have seen the Great Tapestry of Scotland, which has been, perhaps some of you have actually stitched a stitch or designed a panel, I don't know. But it's back. It was in the lobby of the Scottish Parliament at the end of last year, where literally thousands of people queued, sometimes for an hour, to get through. And I'd like to say that it's back there, and they've actually given it a bit more space in the summer when they put it into some committee rooms and so on as well. And it is absolutely stunning. Now, my point in mentioning that is that it depicts 420 million years of Scottish history. The political union that we're discussing is just over 300 years old. So in terms of our history and our being and our heritage, it's a few minutes ago in our clock. And my point of mentioning that is that I think it's important to recognise just exactly what the union is and how it came about. And I guess we go, without reading endless history books or historians' take on the union, the reality is that we had no democracy in Scotland at that time. Parliament was made up of 180 men, unelected land-owning class who governed Scotland. And there's no doubt that they were under some pressure. They were under pressure at home not to enter into a political union, but they were also under pressure financially, and the English Army at the border and the Navy in the Forth. Then there certainly was some pressure elsewhere too as to the consequences of not entering into a political union. My point in all of that is that 300 years later, and the older I get, by the way, I realise 100 years isn't very long, and there are a number of people who live now more and more, and people who live to be 100, so you could say it's 3 lifetimes. But of course, the world has turned a few times since then, and Scotland is in a very different place now. And we do have some democracy in our country. But to my mind, it's not enough. What we could have is actually democracy that means that our vote when cast means something in the Scottish Parliament, because we do have a much fairer voting system in Scotland, and although it may not be a coalition government that you voted for, it will be one that reflects what the people in Scotland want to see. So, for me, what this debate is not about, it's not about the SNP or Alex Salmond. Much of the media would like you to believe that. It's not about not liking England or Wales or Northern Ireland. And it's not a general election. So it's not about party politics in the way that we think of going to the polling station. So what is it about? For me, it's about an opportunity that may never come again. And the opportunity is this. The opportunity is actually, and what's quite exciting about the movement so far, in my lifetime I've never seen political engagement, political with a small p, in village halls and town halls across Scotland. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people suddenly awake to the idea that they could make a difference. The difference I think that we can make is actually to take control of all of the things that are still reserved matters. If we're trusted enough by Westminster to look after health and education, which are huge issues, of course, biggest budgets and so on, then why are we not trusted with defence or energy?
I want to share with you some of my thoughts about why I think it's not good for Scotland to separate and it's good for us to stay together. There's just 3 things that I'm going to talk about. The first one is about partnership, and the second one is what actually, a kind of way of thinking about it if Scotland separate, and the third point is about nationalism. So my first point about partnership. So at the moment, when we pay our taxes, it goes into one big pot, out of which a lot of services we get a lot of services. So, I mean, there's a huge list, but it includes things like the car, DVLA, and the benefit system, all the embassies around the world. Somebody recently mentioned the Civil Aviation Authority. It wasn't one that had come across in my mind before then. The Met Office. There's lots and lots of things that we have as a UK-wide thing that our taxes go and buy. So, and in the white paper, where the proposal for the new Scotland, it says that actually we want to carry on using these things. So, because I do think that I agree that actually if we were to have our own Met Office, with our own benefit system, although actually that would be a priority for me, but and our own EVLA, all these things would cost a lot of money, and so it makes sense for us to share them. So it's a good argument for staying together. Actually, a lot of the white paper is, but if we do separate, so then what we will be is a customer, where we will have to negotiate the price that we then pay for these services. Now, it's not like being a customer down the high street. This is a customer of a monopoly. We really have no alternative for a lot of these services, and we've got nowhere else that we could buy these services from. And so, it's not a very strong position to be as a customer. And in terms of negotiation, then if the prices go up and up and up, we still need these services. So that is I don't feel that's a strong position when you're the customer of a monopoly. And so at the moment, it is likely that the costs will go up over time. But that's shared in the whole UK, with the whole UK population, because all of our taxes go in together to pay that. So it's a much more even playing field. So that's the one issue about services. The second thing I wanted to talk about was it's really quite abstract actually, sometimes, because we're not actually physically, we wouldn't separate physically, so what does that actually look like? And a couple of independent supporters explained it to me, and they said they think it's like a management buyout, where we would take over. I love management buyout. I love employee-owned companies. So that kind of vision is actually very appealing to me. But actually, if we think of it that it's a management buyout of Scotland, we in this room are the people who are going to be taking over and running Scotland, and we're doing the management buyout. Now, if we were going to do that to a company, we would follow a process called due diligence. And the due diligence is quite a thorough process where you would look at your assets and you would look at your liabilities. You would have some kind of calculation for the goodwill that you have in the organisation, and that would be accounted for. But also you'd have to look at risks and liabilities. So it would be, where you're going to generate revenue and things like that. And then it's only at that point that you then say, okay, on balance, I think we'll leave it, or on balance, yes, we'll go for it. But you have a lot of good information to base that decision on. Now, we're not given that information, and I know some of it is not to be had. And it is, as Jean says, it's a risk and it's a leap into that dark place that you don't know. I mean, it's impossible to know. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. But when we ask really genuine questions about what will this look like, and will that have a negative impact? What will it be like? How are we going to deal with Europe? How are we going to deal with pensions? How are we going to deal with research funding? All the questions that people ask. And when I ask that kind of thing, it's like a pointy finger to say, you're just being negative. You're just scaremongering. And I find that's really not helpful, because I have genuine questions. And I think to be told that that's negative, saying, oh, that might not be so good for this thing, that's not being negative about the whole thing, that's being negative about, or being realistic about a specific comment. And for research funding, which is very close to my heart, the head of UK cancer research has said this is not good for cancer research in the UK. So to say that scaremongering is not helpful, I don't think. Recommend any woman goes into politics. Just, if you think about the way people are treated, especially women, when you put their face above the parapet, it's more than just being involved in politics. They are attacked often and criticised, and I would say it's really difficult and it's really challenging and it's not easy. So I would never say, oh, come on, join politics, that's for its sake. I think actually it's about trying to make the world a better place, and women can do that at whatever level they're at, and if you believe that you can do that, and then you just become involved at whatever level that you can become involved in, and the more we all do that, then we will change the culture of where we're working at. So, and then the more women that find that they want to change the world in local government or national government, whatever level, then the more we do that, the more we will then change that environment. And so I think it's hugely important that it's done, but I don't think I would ever say to women, come and do it because it's wonderful. And I think we will only change it over time by us all working together.
It's like this different take on this from Kate, although that might be what 2 years out of elected politics. Elected politics brings a bit of distance. I thoroughly enjoyed my 5 years in Highland Council and as elected politician, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the past 20 years I've been involved in party politics at the grassroots level. I think what I would like to see, first of all, is, and I think Jean touched on this in her opening remarks, the number of women especially, but the number of people, it goes across the gender, it goes across age too, that have come out during the referendum debate, some to campaign for Better Together and some to campaign for Yes. But the people who have come out who have not been part of any formal political party, who are just passionate about the argument that they believe in and how they're going to vote and want to continue that, I would like to see them continue that work and continue to be involved in the political process at whatever level, with the big P, with the small p, following this referendum. And I think that has to be a legacy, and I think through that, and I've done events with an organisation called Women for Independence, I think if we can continue this, especially through the women's groups that have sprouted up in both campaigns, and maybe after the event, if there's common ground and with the constitutional argument and policies, look at working together, that would help bring confidence to women, individual women who wish to take part but never really felt comfortable within the party process. What I would say is that it is difficult. And I went into Highland Council at 31, a bit of an attitude and blonde hair. I left Highland Council having just had my first 2 children. So I went through quite a transition in my life, and the attitudes of individuals was quite stark. I have to say though, as the equality issues and society change and attitudes change towards women, towards people with disabilities, towards people's sexuality, I think that's where we'll see a lot more positive engagement of women, and women will feel more comfortable. Yes, there were people, men, and a lot of women who just sit down, be quiet and watch for a year and then say something. with my colleague at the time. I had a great working relationship in the past with Angela and with Beck. We did stick together a bit. I think, you know, we did kind of stick together a bit, but we need to see past our own inhibitions, our own lack of confidence, and actually just stand up and say, yeah, I can do it. You know, most of us are responsible or take main responsibility for running a house, looking after the kids primarily, looking after our relatives, being carers. You know, if we can do that, it might be nerve-wracking. I was quite nervous about coming here this morning, but we can do it. The other thing I would say, and we don't take into account very much up here, and we should, is on a national representation level, is geography and how difficult it can be, because women tend to have the majority of care roles within a family or within society, that if we wish to go to Edinburgh or we wish to go to London, which seems to be the pinnacle of, you know, political aspirations, the geography actually just doesn't make it possible to have that work-life balance. And I think we really need to look at that, and it would have been great to have done that in Highland Council as well, which also suffers from a geographical impediment.